Hey, what's up? It's Kit. Time for another video. If it's not obvious, we're going to be talking about hooks for jigging today. And this is going to be another one of the tips video. So hopefully we could go through these really fast. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing and click on that notification bell if you haven't already. Very, very important so you don't miss an upload, right? I believe hooks are very important and they're not discussed much. The videos you see on YouTube are more of, well, commercial advertisements for brands and offer very little insight about what you need to buy for the jigs you have. Either choosing different brands or choosing the right hooks to build your own assist hooks with. This video hopefully will help you understand and will help you choose better hooks, either to make assist hooks with or just buying the right assembly for your needs. So here are 10 tips to help you choose hooks for your jigging assist hooks. First and foremost, before we even start, let's talk about the line sizes. Okay, so here are two examples right here. The lines you use determines the thickness of the wire or the gauge of the hook you use. For fast jigging, where you normally use thicker line, it makes it easier for you to for the hook to penetrate the fish's mouth. Since you constantly move the jig, the strikes are normally quite violent. Using light gauge hooks in this instance would be a disadvantage because they're prone to being bent open. On a prolonged fight or on strong lines and high drag settings, the hooks also tend to weaken quite fast. Using larger gauge hooks help mitigate this. So for slow jigging, it's very important. This is PE2 and 40-pound leader. This is PE4. This is 60 to 80-pound leader for me. These are the reels I use. Very, very important to keep that in mind, okay? Because with fast jigging, you're gonna have really high drag settings and you're pulling back. And if you're using hooks that are kind of thin, such as these ones, it will open. These are slow jigging hooks right here. So take note. So that was tip number one. Tip number two, there's no set system for hook sizing, okay? One size 25 could be as big as one's 9.0. Different brands have different sizing, and even for each particular brand, from one hook to another, as you can see here, size 7 is kind of bigger than size 9.0, and they're both owners, but they're just different types of hooks. So take that into consideration. Take note of this when you buy hooks from different manufacturers or when you're buying from the same brand with different hook shapes. So 9.0, 7.0, pretty close there, and 7.0s actually have a bigger gape. So just take note of that. Tip number 3, slow jigging is a light line system. With that, you need to use thin leaders, thin line, again, standard is PE2, and thin assist cords and light gauge hooks. The thinner your line, the harder it would be for you to set the hooks on larger gauge wired hooks. This is the reason why you need thinner hooks. So fast jigging would be thicker hooks. Slow jigging, thinner hooks. Tip number 4. Slow jigging twin assists are made to face each other. Okay. VMC right there. There's a 7.0 right here. Okay. Oh, let's open so that you can see. They're made to face each other. Fast jigging hooks, for twin hooks, they face out like that. A very good example would be these ones right here from VMC. There's an illustration right there. So slow jigging is a light line method, as mentioned earlier. These slow jigging assist hooks are designed to snag fish if the other hook gets in the mouth. So like that, and then this one's going to be outside. The other set at the back, okay, like here, it's like that. The other set at the back is designed so that they will snag If this is the head, it'll snag at the neck or somewhere close there. As the fish tries to shake the jig, and this is very important because when you have a lot of points, kind of like grappling the fish or snagging the fish in the face and the neck, sometimes near the fins, it gives you a lot of connection points and it helps you when you have really light line. For fast jigging, you normally hook the fish in the mouth and you need a very strong hook so it stays there and it doesn't open. Because remember, higher drag settings is longer. Tip number 5. You can see here, slow jig. The length of the assist hooks at the back is actually longer than the one up front. With the shorter length here, there's also a fluorocarbon core that runs inside this set up here. Whereas the set back here doesn't need the fluorocarbon core. And by the way, this will probably catch more fish because as soon as it swallows, it's not stiff or anything. It's just that you need the stiffness here so that you won't tangle as much with your leader. Very, very, very important. Tip number 6. All right, so you see these hooks with flat angles such as these. Okay, the ones here are VMC, but Owner, as I have shown earlier, also has some of these that have the flat angles. These are designed to hold the fish better. They're also stronger relative to the size of the hook than something that has a rounded body such as that. The flat parts you see here, they act like small fulcrums that the fish actually need to actually bend before the other part bends. So the more flat surfaces you have on these types of hooks, the stronger they are. That's one. And two, the more they hold the fish. Now, it's very important because once they hold the fish, there's a big chunk of meat and then there's that flat part where that meat actually gets cushioned. And that's the part that is also very difficult to bend. So that's very important. Take note of these when you're actually buying. Okay, for slow jigs, the thickness of the material used for assist hook will slow the jig down. You'll see here the cords, the knot, okay, and the wire of the hook. This affects the balance of your jig. This includes the thickness of the wire, the cord, the knots, the bindings, including the split ring. The smaller and thinner these materials are, the less drag you introduce and the more action you get. If you put just one set of assist hooks on a jig, the action will be different when you put two. Okay, what I mean by that is that if you put just one set on top, it will affect the jig because that creates drag there and this creates drag here and you'll get a better fluttering action. This is tip number 8. The flash you put on assist hook create more drag but introduce a different dimension. Extra flash on hooks for added attraction. UV and glow materials on the hooks will give the fish a hot spot to home in for the strike. The downside is that it creates drag, more drag. If this additional drag actually concerns you, kind of make or choose the ones that have sparse flash, such as these. They're sparse. Or you could choose the ones that don't have flash. There are some makers out there that really make it bushy. Now, if you want variety so that you would have different actions and all that, yeah, that's fine. Okay, you can go ahead and do that. But there are manufacturers out there that actually make sparse flash material. The difference is, for this, of course, just to show you here, what I mean about the UV and the hotspot is this. So as you can see there, there's a difference. This thing glows when it gets hit by UV light. Here's a better look. Okay, this is from Owner. UV light penetrates the deepest. Okay, if you want some flash, you could use one color or another. Or if you want a hot spot on the jig so that the fish can key in on where to strike, these are good additions. Again, remember that these actually kind of slow the jig down a bit. And it could be that there are some days where the fish would like that and other times the fish don't like. And then you could do naked ones and they'll work. Either way, you have to go and experiment. A lot of people believe in one and don't believe the other. You know, they have their own beliefs and gives them confidence. Do whatever gives you confidence and you'll do well. Tip number 9. So let's take this jig back again. Let's take this one. Okay, and let's say this one. There's no set system for hook sizing that covers all makes and manufacturers. As mentioned before, an easy guideline to use when choosing the right sized hooks for your jigs is to take your jig to the shop, choose your hook, okay, and then position the hook to where it's going to sit on your jig. For this one, I want it to be like that, and then I fold the jig over, and inside the hook points right there. It's sticking out a bit, and that's how I gauge my hook for the size. Now, for slow jigging, what you need to do is actually put it in the widest position, at least past the halfway mark. Okay, like this one. So I go that. So that's how you measure. Okay, like that, because it sits there. That's perfect. Because you have two here, they're gonna sit like that. Okay, and when it's fluttering, it's gonna go up. So that's a very good guideline. Again, just so we're clear, take the length, position them there, and if it's just past the halfway mark, which is right here, that's the hook I choose. And it has to be in the position where it's supposed to sit when the assist hook is made. It's a very good guideline, because in this day and age, you can't just say I'm sticking to, say, a 3/0, because there are different types of jigs now that are big. Past 500 grams, it's kind of impossible to put 3/0 in. Okay, so some bonus tips. Using the smallest hardware you can for slow jigging will not only make everything stealthy, it will make the jig move as designed. Connection points, just as solid rings and split rings, are just as important as everything else in the system. Look for the strongest ones and the smallest ones you can find, and don't skimp on the part. A lot of people think that, they can save money by buying some random stuff, but no. Find the strongest, smallest split rings and solid rings you can get away with, and I promise you, your jigs will actually move better and you'll catch more fish, and that's just the result. Okay, now another bonus tip. Slow jigs will have one side that is kind of deeper than the other. There's always going to be sort of like a flat part. When you're rigging up, put the hooks on the flat side. I see a lot of videos where the hooks are on the bottom like that. Okay, now remember that when the jig is actually going down, these hooks are like that, okay? Because they create drag. And then, of course, if you put your crystal flash and all this there, it'll create more drag, and they'll position it like that. It helps the jig actually flutter. Okay, now if you have it here, it'll get stuck on the body. It'll go like that, and that's when you tangle, and you don't want that. All right, so always rig your slow jigs on the flat part. Alrighty, so that's it. Again, if you haven't yet, please consider subscribing. If you have already, thank you very much for the support. When you subscribe, remember to click on that notification bell so you don't miss the next upload. Yeah, give me a thumbs up if you like the video. Hope you learned something from this. And yeah, by the way, if you haven't yet, check out the description. There's also a link for some merch if you're interested. That's it for now. Hope you learned something. Again, I'll see you in the next one. Class dismissed.